audio recording on this beautiful Tuesday night at 6:30, where we broadcast KRUU's Mental Health Matters with Dr. Scott Terry, and we rebroadcast Thursdays at 12:30. But you could also listen online to all the old archives. This should be show 91. Wow. So a lot of shows to look up if you're interested. You could look them up on KRUUFM.com, and you could archive Mental Health Matters, or you can go to the Ardent Counseling Center YouTube channel and watch the YouTubes of these. And anyways, we're so glad you're with us today. We're so fortunate as well to have Tom Allen back with us again, talking about a really fantastic subject. And Danielle, take it away. And we're also wanting to let people know about if they want to come.
Yeah, so coming up shortly here in October is author Kate Grace. She'll be speaking and doing a book signing for her work, Collateral Damage, The Impacts of My Mother's Mental Illness on Me. And that'll be Friday, October 21st at 7 p.m. at the Fairfield Public Library Meeting Room. And if you're interested in asking some questions or wanting to talk about it, you can contact us at hopeforlifeevents@gmail.com.
And we'll try and have that recorded so we could also put that up on the Ardent Counseling Center YouTube channel. And Tom, tell us about the topic today. This is a really great title you came up with.
Well, I am pretty invested in this idea that out of crisis can come an opportunity for a new life, a new opening. I was thinking of the phoenix. You know, the phoenix, a new bird comes rising out of the ashes of its old death being burned up. And I grew up with this in my family with a mother who went through a severe crisis, and she was hospitalized 4 times in early generation psychiatric technology, and came out of it as a shining human being. She was admired. She was Wisconsin's Artful Woman of the Year. She won the David T. Dreesen Award for Excellence in Photography. She had covers on Wisconsin Trails magazine, which is kind of like Arizona Highways. She had one-person shows. She was on the cover of the review of the Wisconsin Academy of Arts, Letters, and Sciences. She became very active there. When the University of Wisconsin built a brand new hospital complex like the University of Iowa complex, and if you've been there, you know it's huge. The University of Wisconsin complex is on that scale. The first show in the main lobby gallery was her photographs. And when I went into that, I was in Minnesota at the time, and I came down to see that show, and I walked into that room. The whole lobby was surrounded by her photographs, this time in color. And this book of hers that just came out has a lot of them, and Bill Tipo has arranged on October 20th, Thursday night, to do a reception for this book. And all around the walls of this lobby is this brand new University of Wisconsin hospital complex with her photographs in color. And they were so full of life, so vibrant, and they had such a sense of having gone beyond ordinary perception to something very exalted. And I looked around. My nickname for her was Mopsy. I figured if you could call your father Pops, you could call your mother Mops, and it just stuck. I said, Mopsy, you beat me to enlightenment. Her photographs had this wonderful sense of having gone beyond. They're illuminated images. And I invite you all to come down on October 20th at Icon and see this. But this is what she made out of a crisis. Art can be a wonderful way of expressing the inexpressible, and also expressing things you could not really say in ordinary conversation. For instance, does anybody really want to hear somebody say, I feel terrible, I feel awful, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I feel crushed, and I'm never going to be the same, and go on and on about it? Not so much. They might confide that to a friend. But take just for one example among a million, the song Yesterday, the Beatles' Yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Out of this guy's grief, he makes something that is so beautiful and so telling and so true to life that people are just drawn to it. It says, yes, that speaks for me. And so, yes, art can be a wonderful part of recovery and part of what makes our cultural life nourish us.
Fantastic. So so what happened with your mom? Tell us a little bit more about her story. We heard in the last talk that she had a breakdown and things got difficult. What actually happened with her, and how did she actually recover?
Well, in a nutshell, she found that what she had been given as emotional programming didn't work. It didn't uphold her. There were lots of ways in which she was limited by her upbringing, and that's true of everybody. I mean, everybody at some point has to go through a process of deciding what they want from their childhood and exactly what they don't. You could be growing up in a liberal family and you decide to vote conservative. It could be the other way around. There are a million things, but one of the things that she grew up with is a child's duty is to obey. A very strict Victorian family. She was born in 1919. And a very strict Victorian kind of upbringing built on obedience. When she went to Mills College in California, she began to find that there was not always just one right answer. She was encouraged to do some of her own thinking. But still, these inward barriers all came to a head when she came undone in her early 40s or something. He was in the psych ward 4 times, and they kept him in for like weeks, even a month or a month and a half, or I don't know if it was even 2 months sometimes. Borazine, early generation, and she actually had shock treatments, and nobody recommends those. No, I don't think they even do them anymore, but it was early generation psychiatric treatment. And I'm going to read just a little bit from what she wrote, if I can, in her. It's really an autobiography illuminated by her photography and her discovery of her artistic side and of the importance of expressing what was in her through nonverbal means that communicated with others. After college, she went to medical school for a year. She said she was surprised. I was surprised that medical students didn't seem to feel the excitement in learning that I had come to expect in graduate students. Coursework had to be memorized, none of the challenge of Van Neal's class, none of the delight. Here's the pithy statement. When I tried to look ahead, I faced a dense wall of gray clouds, what Bill Moyers has called no trespassing signs of the psyche were standing in my way. That was quite a few years before, actually before she married, before we were born, and before the crisis happened. But it was starting back then. And I'll see if I can find another one here that describes this. She says, a gear that will not shift, cord that will not resolve, a turbulence of worms. Then she says, Aunt Mary, Mother's favorite sister, spent her entire adult life in a mental institution. What was the matter with her? What is the matter with me? What do I have to do to avoid spending the rest of my life in some back corridor of some psychiatric ward? And then she wrote something which I thought is very, I think, poetic. She said, trouble is a signal. The signal is written in code. I don't know how to read the code. How can I find out what I need to know when I don't know what it is that I do not know? I don't know how to start. I don't even know where to begin. That's the way she experienced it. Some of it is sort of poetic writing, like a chord that will not resolve, a turbulence of worms. And a few other things. I stand on hands and knees, scrub the kitchen floor at 3 o'clock in the morning. One tile comes clean. there is something I can do. I'm not a total failure. So in this depth of this, her self-esteem was gone. And she says, I walk around in circles muttering. I stand at the kitchen sink, washing the same dish, washing, looking out the window, up the valley. We lived on a farm at that time. Watching the shadows shorten, lengthen, washing, staring, tears streaming. On the phonograph, Mimi is dying, Rodolfo singing desperately to keep her alive. The most beautiful sad music I know, tears streaming, theirs and mine. That's from La Boheme. And that was one of the things that gave voice to her sadness and grief.
So it seems like not only was she using art to move through what she was going through, but kind of complementing and allowing her to access those parts of herself as well.
Yeah. The no trespassing signs of the psyche that she had encountered before. She was going through that. She was beginning to feel feelings that she had not experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Or had not allowed herself, and they come up as a great tumbling of grief and sadness. And there's a song that I'd like to share. Maybe we can put it in at this point. This is a song that I wrote. It's called My Heart Wants to Break. Mm. And the theme is, I know there is unfelt grief within myself, and I can't let it out. And the lyrics go, my heart wants to break, but it can't even ache. It's dying inside, and it's open wide. Forest and trees have me down on my knees. God's forgiveness, God's sweet comfort.
Maybe we'll play it at the end so everyone can hear that and inspire people to hang around for a little bit.
Wherever it fits in, but it's about this letting feelings out that have been bottled up, that have not been able to get out. And that can build up for years until a person comes apart just because the dam won't hold anymore.
Absolutely. And again, like in our previous talk, looking at how we could use crisis as an opportunity for growth, or looking at, in her case, art and her creativity as an artist, being both a visual artist and a word artist, because she's a writer as well. What is the title of the book, by the way?
The book is Falling Light and Waters Turning. Falling light and waters turning were two metaphors that were very big to her in her life. The falling light had to do with being in a forest and seeing the light fall through the tops of the trees all the way to the forest floor in little bits that came through all the way to the ground. She found that just very exhilarating. The natural world that she encountered as a child in a big way with this exploring father and exploring family, that stayed with her. And the waters turning comes from a funny dream that she had one night, partway into all this. And she said that in the dream, she was turning the water inside out. And she came down laughing about it, and it was kind of a joke, and it became a family joke. But it later emerged as something kind of like these little puzzles that in Zen are called koans.
Koans.
Koan? Yeah.
Koans.
What does it mean to turn the water inside out? Well, it's not exactly clear, but on the level of consciousness, on the level of opening up, on the level of one's own growth, sometimes one just sort of laughs and chuckles and gets what it was.
Absolutely. And what is her name? So if somebody wanted to look up the book, again, give us the title and her full name.
Mary North Allen. And the book is Falling Light and Waters Turning.
Fantastic. And also there was another interview that you did on KRUU regarding this book.
Let me just finish a little bit here. The subtitle is Adventures in Being Human.
Oh.
I love that.
In word and image. Adventures in Being Human in word and image.
Lovely.
Yeah, it is. And, we did an interview on Program on Writers' Voices with Monica and Caroline. That was wonderful.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Those guys do a great job. And I encourage everyone to listen to that archive as well. By the way, just a quick aside here. ECT is still practice. It's not like in Clockwork Orange where they're basically shocking the crap out of people, to put it nicely. They are still doing this, and the research is that it is very effective, surprisingly, to have shock to the brain like this, even with the memory loss, for drug-resistant depression that's incredibly serious. But again, it is a very, very, very small part of a major depressive population. So it's even of major depression, it's a very small part. I've had several clients who have ECT unsuccessfully. And for many people, there are, of course, many better treatments for them. For example, one type of treatment that is often more useful for drug-resistant depression that's maybe not quite as serious is something called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. But again, that's not necessarily approved as something that's where people can get. But often there are so many other protocols that could be done that nobody should ever give up hope, and everybody could really use crisis as an opportunity. And one of the problems that you're describing, Tom, and by the way, you are listening to KRUU 100.1 on your FM dial. You're listening to Mental Health Matters with Dr. Scott Terry, and today we're talking with Tom Allen about his incredible mother, so powerful, so meaningful, and looking at, what's the title of our show, Dan?
Yeah, Art, Creativity, and Recovery.
And looking at one of the things you talked about, Tom, looking at that sense of taking that opportunity, taking art and creativity and making it into an opportunity as she did. And everybody could feel like that, regardless of what they're going through, regardless of being trapped in their body, no matter what physically or emotionally they're going through. How do you learn to transcend your body? How do you transcend your mind when your mind is saying something is crazy? How do you transcend?
I'd like to give a little example from the writing here.
Yes, please.
This was a recurring dream, she said. I was in a prison in some strange place where I could not speak the language. The cell was small and dark. Once a day, a keeper opened a slot in the door, thrust in a bowl of inedible food. My space was pitch dark. The only light came through a narrow slit, a crack in the door. I believe she was saying that was a recurring dream, and what she did with it is this. I set myself a problem to photograph the light from that slit once each day. Each day I must make a different picture. And the photograph on that page 125, is a dark room with some light coming in, sort of at the bottom. And there were many that she did for a long time in black and white, many of them in the woods, and there would be a little bit of light coming through in the back. And it expressed for her what it was that she was feeling at that time. I am mostly living in darkness, and there's just a little bit of light. The overdone term is light at the end of the tunnel. She photographed this in a lot of different ways. There's one of just a very stark-looking window in an old abandoned house with some light coming through. But this built, and it built, and it built. She was expressing that which she had been unable to express. And I want to read a little bit from something farther down the road. She had an exhibition, and I believe this was at the Wisconsin Academy. Yes, the Wisconsin Academy of Arts Arts, Sciences, and Letters, I believe it is, in Madison, Wisconsin. They did an exhibit, and she said, this is what her thinking about it and what happened. I may choke up a little bit. This is pretty emotional stuff. It's my family. But anyway, preparing the photographs for exhibition, maybe people will take one quick glance at unfamiliar. I don't know what that is. Disappointed, offended, walk on without looking. Of course, many will do just that. If just one person stops, looks, keeps looking, keeps exploring, recognizing wordless something, I will not have failed. Evening, midwinter Wisconsin. Weather broadcasts warn of falling temperatures, dangerous wind chill. Stay home unless dire necessity requires you to go out. 250 people come out for the opening, venturing out in the cold, coming into the warmth of the small Wisconsin Academy Gallery, greeting friends and chatting as always at gallery opening. Some are looking again. All evening, I'm choking back tears.
That sounds like it was a very moving experience for her after having... Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, okay, yeah, it was a moving experience, and so what's happening here is that her interior process of taking like that dream and taking pictures of it becomes a social experience when it's brought out into the world. And to her surprise, it speaks to people. She didn't know if it would speak to anybody besides her. And I'd like to read a little more from what I referred to earlier, the University of Wisconsin hospital complex with that big opening show. 6 months later, 30 big prints in the large waiting room of huge university hospital. Some days after the opening, I go back again, pretending to be waiting to see my doctor, like thousands from all over our state. I'm watching people hurrying to and fro. A wheelchair, patient in hospital gown, pushed by attendant in uniform, is slowing down, stopping. 2 people looking at photographs. Something has caught their attention. Voices murmuring. 2, 3, 5 minutes and more. Looking, murmuring to each other. Image and persons connecting, their lives unknown to me. No need for words to explain. No need for asking why. So this recovery of hers is beginning to speak to other people, and it's beginning to be joyful. And it's not a lecture. It's not a bunch of words that most people wouldn't understand. You know, it's just a medium for expressing the burgeoning of life. Those people probably didn't know that she had, some of them did, but they didn't have to know that she had been through this major crisis, and that's where this had all come from. But the subtitle, again, is Adventures in Being Human in Word and Image. So she was enhancing the humanity of other people's lives by her work.
And I think that's also really key to recovery and healing, is using your pain, your crisis, your transformation to help and transform others. That's why we always recommend volunteering. But the other thing that she did, I think that was also fascinating, is that she also, in a real surprising thing, she grew up in this kind of black and white, all or nothing thinking that we always have railed about on this program. We've talked about this topic endlessly.
Yeah.
And she sits there and says, no, life is not black and white. Life is not all or nothing, right or wrong, good or bad. Life is full of color. And life is about what we could do with that color to not just change our lives, but change the lives of others. And that's where our power comes from.
Yeah. Now, the show I was just referring to in the University of Wisconsin hospital lobby, those were all color prints. But she did many in black and white. And it's interesting how the metaphor of black and white can be used in 2 different ways. And the way you were just using it is, as an all or nothing kind of a thing. And that's those no trespassing signs of the psyche, a term she got from Bill Moyers.
Yes.
That was that kind of thing. It's very imprisoning. But she did a lot with black and white photography, which became very expressive in lots of ways and began to definitely not be all or nothing thinking.
Absolutely. We got to go because we want to save time
Okay.
for one of your songs here at the end. And so we want to thank you again, Tom. And I'm sure we're going to have another show with you very, very soon. And would like to figure out some way that we could repost some of these pictures if we could.
But there is a website.
Really? Please tell us what that website is and say goodbye for everybody.
Yeah, it's fallinglightwatersturning.com. Interestingly enough, it's not Falling Light and Waters Turning. The and is not there in the website. It's fallinglightwatersturning.com.
Beautiful.
And then there's where you can click a couple things to get more photographs, more text and stuff. Introduction to what she was doing.
Thank you, Tom, once again. Brilliant talk. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And it's
you.
truly an inspiration for everybody to hear your wise words and the wisdom of your mother that just profoundly could show an example for everybody, no matter what stage of growth we're all in, to look at that next stage.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Thank you,
Danielle.
Thank you, Scott or Tom.
Thanks to everybody. Bye, everyone. Bye. See you next time.
Bye.